that, what can we do? Yeah?
You can first plug off the X and X.
Well, actually, I can't do that yet. The reason is because at the moment I've got brackets on the bottom. What I'm going to do is there's nothing to simplify because they're all different, but I can sort this out. So I'm going to rewrite that's x to the minus 2, y to the power of 10. That nothing changes there, but underneath I'm going to sort this out. So this gets, so what do we get? Be x to the power of 3 multiplied by 4, because you multiply when it's outside the brackets, yeah? So that's x to the power of 12. Then it's y to the power of 8, and it's z to the power of 12. Okay. Now, the next stage is, well, I think like Sienna was saying, you can now sort out the x's, the y's, and the z's, or z's, right? So what do you do when you divide? Subtract. So we've got x to the power of negative 2 subtract 12 multiplied by y to the power of 10 subtract 8, and we've got z to the power of negative 8 subtract 12. Are you all with me at the moment, yeah? Yeah. So then we've just got to get our negatives correct. So negative 2 subtract 12 is?
11.
Nope.
10.
No.
9.
No, you're guessing. Stop guessing.
14.
Not 14.
12.
Negative 14. You're at negative 2 and you subtract 12. You need to practice these negatives, guys. We did this last year. You need to go and practice them. Then we've got y to the power of 10 subtract 8 is 2. Okay? And then we've got z and negative 8 subtract 12. Negative 20. Good. All right. So now that's all kind of simplified. So what can we do at this stage? Well, this is where Niall's pretty good. So he knows, for instance, that all of this, draw a line, the negatives go below. So that's one of those, this goes down. So I then go, the y to the power of 2 stays on top of the line, but the x to the power of 14 and z to the power of 20 goes under the line. And there we are, we're done. Okay? 2D, she said. The question 2D. So, any suggestions about something we could do first then? So what are we going to do? So with a fraction, just like this fraction, guys, my first step was, is there any simplifying to happen on the top or on the bottom? And there wasn't. All right, so I went straight to then the fraction. But this one is all A's, so I can simplify the top line first. What would I do?
You can do all of the A.
So how do you simplify if it's all the same base and multiplied? What do we end up with? We end up with a to the power of negative 3 plus 0 plus 4. Okay? So that gives me a to the power of 1. Or just a. Something about here as well. Did you notice that a to the power of 0 I could replace with 1? So this could just be a 1. Therefore, I don't really need to consider it at all. But it doesn't matter if we do. A 0 doesn't become a 1, and something to the power of 0 becomes a 1. No, I didn't change the power to 0 to 1. I changed the whole thing to 1. Well, this is one of the first things we learned. Remember? 2 to the power of 0 is 1. 5 to the power of 0 is 1. x to the power of 0 is
1.
anything to the power of 0 is 1. So I could get rid of it. It doesn't affect it. I can still add the 0. It doesn't add on, does it? All right. So I've got a to the power of 1. And then what's underneath? Well, what do I do? So what do you do when you've got exponents either side of the bracket? It becomes a to the power of? Yeah, because you do what now? Multiply them. You do 2 multiplied by -2. So then we get a to the power of -4. Alright? Now, we're in a stage where we know this. What do we do with this stage? So you've got division. So it becomes a to the power of? What do you do when it's division? You
Divide 1.
You don't divide, you subtract. So 1 subtract -4. So you end up with a to the power of 5. That's your answer. All of that simplified down to that. No calculators necessary. All good with that? O. That's a huge one. Okay.
Oh gosh.
Oh. Right, so this one you might not know what the first step is, but does anyone want to give it a go? What do we do first?
Probably do the 7 on the outside.
Okay, so what do we do with that?
I have to divide.
No.
Multiply, subtract. Multiply.
This is using our rule from yesterday.
You have to put it over 1.
Nope. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is when it's a root like this, a root of a number, you don't do anything different. You actually leave that bit. Now this bit is going to be done using a calculator. Alright?
Yeah.
Right, okay, go on. Tell me what the answer is to that bit. Do you remember how to do that? It's not the square root button. You've probably got an X with a root button, or it's one of your second functions. Everyone should have it. Right, so the next stage is, so this is an important one. So when it's with numbers, so you might want to make a note of this, I guess, in your book. We don't do anything other than do that on our calculator. Alright, I don't expect you to do anything other than use your calculator. But the rest of it, however, we do a bit differently. So this also can be written as a different thing. So the 7th root, not the square root, can be written as, if I put an x to the power of a 7th. So what we do is I'm going to rewrite all the rest of it. I'm going to put my brackets, so a to the power of -7, b to the power of -49, c to the power of 21. I'm going to do that, but with a 1/7. So this bit's been done, okay, but the rest of it hasn't. Now the reason why this is easy now is because what do you do when you've got a power outside with other powers again?
You have to do the power outside first.
No, but we've just done it in a previous question. What do you do? Multiply. So we get a to the power of -7 times a 7. Then we get b to the power of -49 times a 7. We get c to the power of 21 times 1/7. Okay? Now you might be going, oh, but how am I supposed to do that? But what's the same thing as multiplying by a fraction? You're just going to divide instead. So we actually have, the 5 is still there, 5 multiplied. We've got a to the power of -7 divided by 7, which is a to the power of 7 divided by 7 is 1. So this becomes -1. -7. Alright? What is negative 49 divided by 7? You know your times tables. 49 divided by 7 is 7. So we've got negative 7 on this one. This one's easy. 21 divided by 7 is 3. No negative on that. So we haven't needed a calculator for any of those. Alright. Is there any more simplifying to be done?
Yes.
No, we can't. There's A, B, and C. They're all separate, right? But what we can do, we could stop and say it's 5a to the negative 1, b to the negative 7, c to 3. Or we could write it as, Guy?
C to the power 3 and then divided by A to the A and then B to the power 7.
Awesome. Well done. Spot on. No help necessary. So the negative ones became divisible by. Is that good? So all of that, look, ends up just being... Now what was great when Jai did that, he realised that the 5 did not follow the A. The 5 is its own thing, the 5 multiplied. So it was really good that he did that. That was awesome. Right? So you've been through some really complex ones there. Okay. Right.